Morning, rise in freedom. It's the Wake Up America show with your host, Justin Peterson this week. So they have landed. I think they're going to go get dinner right now. It's a lot of exciting stuff happening over there. So I'm really, I've been getting little emails this morning as they've been riding the monorail. So it's pretty exciting. So glad to see you this morning. Glad that you're here. And we are live this week. I'm going to be working this week to try to bring you some great content, about an hour or so of content. I am basically the substitute teacher this week, right? I'm going to try not to pull out the television as the substitute teacher in front of you guys and just be like, watch some television. But, you know, if you've ever read that book, Miss Nelson is Missing, I also promise not to be the wicked substitute teacher. So anyway, Austin's, like I said, Austin's on vacation. I'm Justin Peterson. I'm Austin's big brother. Glad to be stepping in for him for the week. I will be here all week long. So glad to be here. Austin, he reached out to me several weeks ago and was like, hey, you know, you want to do my show? And of course, my first reaction was to say no. But you know, I kind of gave it some thought, and I have to be honest, so personal story here. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm going to be your host this week. I said no, and then I thought about it for a day. And last year I worked with a life coach, and the life coach, and I worked a lot through fear. It was a fear-based life coach, and it was so good. And she really helped me kind of understand fear and how fear can be a really big block for us. So I really vowed this year, was a no coming out of fear. I was going to try to turn that no into a yes. So when Austin said, you want to do this? My first fear response was no. And then I thought about it for a day and I said, who's driving the bus here? Is fear driving the bus, or is Justin driving the bus? So I decided I didn't want fear to drive the bus. So here I am in front of you today. Hope everything's going okay. I have about 2-ish hours of literal tech training on this platform, doing this thing right now in front of you. I am literally like a fish out of water here. But I'm getting used to it. Austin has faith in me. He was so nice to give me some pep talks last night and this morning. He's been great. I have a great brother. So thank you so much. I do pray for your indulgence today. I pray for some grace. Give me some space to learn this stuff this week as I bring you the news. We're keeping it in the family. You know, we're keeping it in the family. So thank you so much for everything. So I wanted to talk a little about who I am. Who am I? You know, I'm Austin's, like I said, big brother, Justin. I'm here this week to host for you. Austin has always been super political, and I have not been super political. So my whole modus operandi has been mainly kind of watching from the sidelines. But I am very much interested in politics insofar as what's going on in the world today. And I really am passionate about what's going on from the perspective of someone who's very much liberty-minded and conscious about libertarianism as an idea versus the dichotomy of it against wokeism or authoritarianism as we're having it today in our public discourse. So what I'd like to do is just sort of talk a little bit about my deconversion. Once things started to see a lot of movement in social media spaces with friends of mine that seemed to be, to me, very irrational and very illiberal. And so what I did was I started to say, something's not right here, and I need to figure out what that is. So anytime something would happen on social media, I would see a bunch of people move over in one direction and say, oh, we're going to do this now. So case in point, there was a situation in the everybody was putting black squares on. And then maybe it wasn't even the next day that people were like, don't put black squares on your profile. I'm seeing a lot of game playing going on with this. So what I basically did was decide to say, I don't think this is a game I'm going to win. So I don't want to participate in things. And I also don't want to be manipulated, because that's kind of how I was feeling at the time. So I felt very isolated. And if you've ever seen the movie Stepford Wives, I think it's a 1973 movie. I really, really was taking my cue from that film, because I thought, gosh, this is what's going on to me. So if you've ever seen Stepford Wives, it's about a woman from New York City, very liberal woman, who goes to this place in Connecticut, and all of a sudden she meets these women in the town, and the women are really kind of like trad wives, right? So they're super conservative sort of wives. They're always wearing aprons and everything, and it's very prim, and they keep very clean houses. But these women are starting to change. So they're turning away from their more, it was very much a feminist movie, but they're turning away from their feminist roots and going more towards this more, I guess you could say, conservative lifestyle. But they're really, if you've never seen the movie, sorry, I'm giving it away. I am going to, does it look like I'm having internet problems? Oh no, okay. Sorry, y'all. I am hardwired into the internet, so hope everything will be resolved soon. I'm following some of the comments here. So it's okay on my end. So I don't know what's happening. I am hardwired into the internet. Anyway, so yeah, Stepford Wives. It was sort of, everyone was turning into robots, and that was the end of the movie. So the movie was that all of these people were getting turned into robots. And so that's kind of how I felt in 2022, that everybody was kind of becoming a robot. And I was like, I'm not a robot. I felt like her in the movie, like, why is everyone turning into robots? Or if you've ever seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that was very much similar to how I felt. Like, people are starting to change. People are saying things that are, and I'm seeing a lot of it's memetics, right? So if you've ever was the fact I came up with what my principles were. And my principles are that I presume freedom, right? That's the first thing. It's an essential part of what it means to be a human being. Freedom is essential to the existence of being a human. Freedom in itself is a good. People prefer to be free rather than being coerced. I also believe in the primacy of the individual, that individuals are more important than groups. This is something that's very much brought home to me. Dynasty, a sexual dynasty, whatever. It's like, oh, well, you are a representative of that, or you're an avatar of that. I'm like, no, I don't agree with that. I think we're individuals. Society has no mind of its own. It's individuals who think, and those are the people that drive events. So there is no collective public interest beyond individuals who are comprising that. And no single authority can know what's best for every single person in a society, in a dynamic, complex world. I also believe in minimizing coercion. I'm not a big fan of coercion. I know that the libertarians have the NAP that they talk about a lot. I'm reading the comments here. Title says, Big Brother is watching you. Internet messes up. Then host questions, what is happening? LOL. Coercion, also toleration. That's a big part of my principles of my values, is I think people should be tolerated. I still think that they have a right to say it. Human differences are just a fact of life. Toleration is really just kind of always a part of social life. I do believe in limited and representative government. I have seen through Austin's conversations with Austin that it's not great to be centrally as well. And and then I also believe in the rule of law. I believe we have a law. I believe we're a nation of laws. And the rule of law is happy because it makes life far more predictable and less chaotic, because it gives us an idea of how people will and will not behave. So we can make long-term plans without being afraid that they're going to be shattered by the caprices of other human beings. Spontaneous order is something that I've also been looking at as a principle of mine, which is something that I learned from Hayek. My brother's going, oh my, trade markets. I believe in a civil society. I believe in common human values. Those are sort of my 10 sort of frames of what I believe as a liberal. So yeah, those are my values. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because as someone who's sort of a disaffected liberal from the left, I'm just sort of trying to find where I am, and I don't think I'm alone. I think there are a lot of people like me who are disaffected by the system and are trying to find out where we are going. Yeah, so anyway, here we go. So I wanted to kick off today and talk about a little bit about what's going on in Mississippi. So on Friday night, there was a tornado that hit down in Mississippi, and about 26 people were killed. It tore through parts of Alabama and west central Mississippi, and this was Friday night, and it leveled the town of Rolling Park, and it caused widespread damage for about 56 miles. President Biden has declared a major disaster here and has made federal funding available for rebuilding efforts, and this is one of the country's poorest regions. It was so harrowing. In fact, there was a local meteorologist in Mississippi who was on the television and broke down into tears. I would show you videos. This is another thing about the technology this week. I don't have the ability to show live videos with sound because I'm not that advanced, you guys. I'm not that advanced. I'm still learning. So I would play that. But if you want to help the efforts, I would absolutely recommend donating to the Red Cross. As a matter of fact, last week, for some random reason, I just got a hair and decided to buy a weather radio, which is actually made in Kansas City. So it's made by a company called Midland, and so I bought it because as a kid, Austin and I used to sit in the kitchen with Mom, and we would have like our oatmeal, our cream of wheat, and she would turn on the weather radio. And I think in the Midwest, I don't know, it's a thing in the Midwest. So like, this is a funny story. Instead of tornadoes or things like that in the Midwest, they will talk about buoys in the water out here because I live close to the water here in Boston. And so they'll tell you about like how high or low the water is going because of the buoys. They measure the level of the water because out here, everything is so oriented towards the ocean. So that was just one difference. But yeah, weather radio, if you get one, I know people in the Midwest need them. It's a really great thing to have. It warns you. It's actually connected to NOAA, so it will alert you right away if there is any impending storm. So anyway, so I wanted to get into this first story today. There's a woman by the name of Posey Parker. It's just so confusing because it's Posey Parker. Parker Posey is an actress, and Posey Parker is this activist. But that's not really her real name. Her real name is Kelly J. Event. She was assaulted by one of the trans rights activists at this event, and covered with tomato juice or tomato paste. And not only she was attacked, but other people at this event were also attacked as well. There were some elderly people there. An elderly gentleman was attacked, as well as an older lady. So I have some thoughts about this. So I'm just kind of showing you here some of the photographs taken here from the Daily Mail. This was her on the day of the event. This was a senator that was going to talk about this idea of violence and protesting. I really feel like this week I'm going to talk a lot about sociocentrism, which is, again, this idea of collectivism. This idea that the collective must subsume the individual, that you must come under the collective at all costs. I get really, really, really upset about things like this that interfere on free speech because I kind of think I'm a free speech absolutist. Yeah. I really am, because I feel like if you're going to get to good ideas, you have to be willing to have some bad speech. And the answer to bad speech is better speech. So the sociocentric idea that everyone is the same and everyone should have the same opinion, I think is coming a lot in the trans rights movement, where right to say things. End of story. You have the right to say things in a liberal society, in a free society. The second part of jerseys with rainbows on them, and to me, that's an infraction on their speech rights, because you have the right to not say things if you don't agree with them. If you don't want to say something, you shouldn't be coerced. Again, core principle here. You shouldn't be coerced to say things you don't want to say. I don't have any problem with that. The third part of the freedom of speech is the ability to hear. And to me, that's one of the gross violations of what happened here in Auckland, New Zealand, is that people were denied the right to hear what she had to say. That is a wrong, right? Frederick Douglass, a great American writer, orator, freed slave, said that it's just as wrong to rob someone of their right to speak as it would be to rob them of money. And I totally agree with that. It's a double wrong to suppress speech because you're suppressing another person's right to hear what they have to say. And finally, number 4 is the right to not hear, which means you have the right to get up and walk away from something that you don't want to listen to. Totalitarian regimes don't really care very much about your freedom to not hear things. If you look in places like North Korea or other totalitarian regimes, people have to listen to certain news broadcasts, they have to listen to corporate state media, or there's no choice to say no. If you look at Stalin's regimes, if you look at Saddam Hussein's regimes, they made people sit in rooms and listen to talks and things that they did not really probably want to listen to. They had no ability to get up and leave without being killed. So when it comes to freedom of speech, this freedom to hear, the freedom to not hear, the freedom to speak, and the freedom to not speak. And those are, to me, inalienable human rights that we have. Connection, and I do have hardwiring, so I do apologize. I told Austin, I said, Austin, what if it goes bonkers and I don't know what to do? And he said, well, it's just going to be bonkers. So of some of these activists, bear with. All right, so these are some people breaking through some barricades here. Mostly these are men, right? These are biological men at the front lines here. All of these people are bio men. Now, I can't imagine why women would not want to be in a space with violent men. I can't imagine why they would feel safe or okay. They accused her of obviously being a Nazi, and of course, when you use an ad hominem against your opponent, you're using a logical fallacy, and you are engaging in bad acting, I guess, as an arguer. You know, as a person who's looking for freedom, you are engaging in bad strategies and bad tactics. You're saying you can't engage with the person's argument, you have to engage with them through violence. This is, to me, unacceptable, and I absolutely 1000% categorically not deny, but I rebuke this behavior. I think this is disgusting behavior. We should never have violence as a recourse to political activism. If you are using violence as a means to political ends, there is a name for you, and that name is terrorist. And that is just not part of anything that I want to be a part of. It's not a community that I want to be a part of. So no, thank you. Thank you very much. But I did want to show you a very powerful photograph. This is a photograph of a woman, and her name is Keisha Thomas. And this was taken in 1996. And this is a white supremacy riot or demonstration in between him and the crowd as a deterrent of violence against this man, even though this man is her enemy. This picture gets me very emotional. Stand in the gap against hatred from both sides. This did not happen this weekend in New Zealand, okay? There was nobody to stop violence. We are greater than this as a people. And I think when I see the example of somebody like Keisha Thomas, it really inspires me to remember that just because I might be a member of a marginalized community, or I might be a member of a group that's being protested against or being hated, there is absolutely zero reason to be violent at all. Zero. And we should condemn that. There's the word I was looking for earlier. Condemn. I condemn violence, especially in the name of LGBTQ people. It is not the way we have fought for our rights historically. It is antithetical to principles of liberalism and libertarianism, however you want to define that. It's terrorism, pure and simple. There was also some dialogue around the Twitter sphere that people that were on the side of the trans rights activists were saying something to the effect of, well, if she hadn't opened her mouth, she wouldn't have gotten covered with tomato sauce, or if they hadn't acted out, they would have, been, they would have not gotten hit. And I have to tell you, there's that Office meme, right, where there's the two photographs, that they say, well, corporate needs you to figure out the difference between these two pictures. Here's one picture. The picture is, well, if she had kept her mouth shut, she wouldn't have gotten covered with tomato sauce. Same picture. To me, it's the same logic. So you cannot say, you got what you deserved, and also be the same people who will say, well, you should consent and rape. We live in a rape culture and you shouldn't rape people. I'm like, okay, make it make sense, y'all. Make it make sense. But I just find this photograph is a very, very, very powerful example of what it means to stand in the gap between hate. And I just really got moved by this. So, yeah, I'm flying high here, y'all, this morning. I've never done this before. My brother literally pushed me in the pool and he was like, do this. And I'm like, okay. So, I'm following the chat. I'm looking at the stream going wonky. And Austin, I can't even imagine how Austin does this. God bless Austin, because Jiminy Christmas, this is tough. Managing all of this by yourself. You're the stage manager, and you're the performer, and you're the conductor, and you are the, whoever else. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. So anyway, thank you for bearing with me this morning. Being pornographic. We'll talk a little bit about that, and I have some other things to talk about. So bear with me here. Thank you guys so much for helping me get through this. This has been an adventure. Just going to keep on sailing on, sailing on. So here we go. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposure.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian, and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist! Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins!
Hardcore karate guy, and has been since forever. We saw Karate Kid as kids, literally, and glad to be here dealing with some technological stuff. But you know what? I can't control that. It's just like weather. It's just going to happen, and I'm just going to keep. Hilarious story out of Florida. I mean, are you surprised? This is a story out of Florida, showing Michelangelo's David, because one parent called the iconic nude pornographic. Now, my understanding of classical education is that classical education means that a person's going to study, the classics. They're maybe Shaw, or maybe they're going to study Socrates or Aristotle or Epictetus. And maybe when it comes to art, they're going to study Michelangelo and Donatello and the other Ninja Turtles. But this just cracked me up, because I just thought, okay, it's one thing if it were a conservative Christian school. I don't know. Now, maybe y'all can fill me in the comments. I'm understanding that, don't we love it? I'm just putting it up on the screen like it's porn. Need of smelling salts and a fainting couch. But I love this story because it sort of speaks, again, if it was let me backtrack. If it was a conservative Christian school, right, I can totally understand that a school would say, hey, you know what? I don't want my kids to see that kind of stuff. Valid, completely valid, because that's sort of the curriculum of the school. But American Mind. And in it, one of the examples that Jonathan Haidt used, and if you haven't read The Coddling of the American Mind, you owe it to yourself to read that book. It's a fantastic book. Talks about kind of where we are in the education system and how we've sort of coddled people's minds. It's so good. And it's written by Jonathan Haidt, who is a liberal. So I'm always trying to find liberals who are criticizing liberalism. Is that weird? Is that a thing people do? Let me find the counterpoints for my own views. Hey, maybe that's intellectual honesty. I don't know. Anyway, the kindergarten through grade in that school. It's affiliated with Hillsdale College, which is a private conservative college in Michigan that has designed a classical education curriculum model, which is billed as a return to the foundational tenets of Western civilization. Well, I hate to break it to you, darlings. That's just a reality. And I don't know if it's the hang up on the body or what, but it's also interesting to me that the revulsion is about the male nude and not the female nude. I'm like, what would have happened if they'd shown like Venus coming out of the shell or something? Karaskila knew that once in a while you get a parent who gets upset about Renaissance art. Nothing gets me fomented. This is one of the reasons why conservatives tend to be less open to art in general. Jonathan Haidt, as I was saying, is about new approaches, whereas more conservative people are more averse to those new ideas or the nudity of the figure, where a liberal-minded person might look at it and go, oh my gosh, it's beautiful, and I love it. That's what I would do. And the more conservative-minded person might see it as nudity and feel like, oh, I've got to shield my child from it. So what we're really dealing with here in this response are conflicting worldviews of nudity and what it means. Like, this is not porn to me. This is art. But for somebody, yes, it is. Parents had not been informed that the teacher was going to be including the David in the instruction about the art, and it was a violation of a rule that had been put in place 2 months ago by a school board meeting requiring teachers to notify families of potentially controversial lessons. So I, as a person who's, politically homeless, I told my brother, I said, I'm politically non-binary. I don't have a home. I'm homeless. I see reactions of things like this to art, and I have a hard time taking those views seriously. And I feel like conservatives have again shot themselves in the foot when it comes to their curation of the art. Let me just get some church up in here. Conservatives have the word conserve. What more valuable thing should conservatives conserve than art, than music, than literature? It's my firm belief that conservatives or conservative-minded people need to be at the front lines of preserving things like this. They don't need to be, averting their eyes and averting their gaze things. Because what do conservatives conserve if it is not the best and the highest in this? You should be carrying the torch for art and for culture in this country, as well as in the world, and the value of it, and how good things are. Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, Michelangelo. So your rejection or lack of interest in these topics, to me, it's difficult or beautiful and noble and lovely. I mean, I'm talking about the Bible here, right? Didn't the Bible say to think about things that are lovely and beautiful? Well, let's prioritize that again, shall we? Anyway, I wanted to share that story. I thought that was a really interesting story, and Florida never ceases to surprise us all, right? I used to love, there used to be I think there still is a Twitter handle for a guy called Florida Guy, just a guy who kind of does, or all these men in Florida who would just get arrested doing really weird things, like a guy under a bridge doing something. We do it first. After successfully protesting the violence in the Itchy and Scratchy cartoons, Marge Simpson is solicited to help block a local exhibition of David, which detractors dub an abomination for its depiction of evil body parts. Marge, on the other hand, thinks the statue is a masterpiece that everyone in Springfield should see. I don't know. I think when you're quoting when you're quoting the Simpsons and you're just cribbing off their show, they did it first. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that. All right, so how much time we got? I got about 15 minutes left. All right, so let's see. Where do I want to go from here? I want to talk a little bit about this topic that came up the other day, which is this idea of digital blackface. Now, this is a hot button issue. No, thank you. This is from CNN. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going into CNN territory here. Digital blackface. Okay, so basically digital blackface is the idea that if white people use black people GIFs, and I say GIFs because graphics interface format, I think is the name for it, graphics, so I call it GIF. Fight me. The idea of digital blackface is that this is really the idea that black people shouldn't share, or white people should not share GIFs of black people in their Facebook posts or things like that. The justification for this is obviously very flimsy, as far as I'm concerned, and very smooth brain, if you will. This makes no sense to me. This stuff like this makes me so mad, and it's so unlettered and so stupid. It's wrong, right? So I love RuPaul. I love RuPaul and the show. Okay, I watch RuPaul. I love it. And if I feel that that RuPaul does something that captures a sentiment perfectly for how I'm feeling, I want to use it. People, I think I've really heard this used before, is that the idea is that you want to call everything racist until you control it. I feel things like this are intensely demoralizing. Absolutely demoralizing. Much of what passes as this authoritarian movement now is intent on robbing you of your epistemic and your moral authority. The idea that you don't know what you're doing, you're stupid, you need to be helped. It's one of the reasons why if you ever watch these TikTok videos, they're so condescending and they're so rude and they speak to you to rob you of your moral authority and your epistemic. Are there things that are racist that could be yes, of course. Like people could put things that would be construed as racism. But the large majority of people who put things in like this are seeking it to be funny. And so if you're saying that we can't do it, then you're basically saying that black people, can't be funny? Black people can't be humorous? Black culture can't be a part of our social media world, and we can't celebrate that? It's another, again, kind of attempt at authoritarianism. It just makes me want to, pull my hair out. It's just so annoying. And it turns us all into adversaries. It turns us all against each other. Where is the love in this? Where is the love in this? I don't understand. I don't understand. So, of course, this has been a firestorm on Twitter. People have been posting lots of, you might guess, black GIFs on Twitter. Not GIFs, that's peanut butter. So yeah, I just saw this and I thought what it was. And that minstrelsy in some ways was white envy of black culture and a desire to sort of really take it and promulgate it to a white audience. Moral authority. You can't trust your own epistemic authority. It's a complete attempt to rob you of and some RuPaul clips for sure. Because RuPaul's funny, and so are a lot of other wonderful, brilliant, intelligent, amazing black people. So yeah, I'm not here for it. So how are we doing? How on comments? I'm looking at comments here. Okay. Yeah, sowing seeds of division. And not only that, I think it's a means whereby we're taught to be afraid of each other, that we're taught to walk on eggshells around each other. That doesn't lead to any kind of justice. That doesn't lead to equality. That does lead to phobia. That does lead to fear. Things like this create fear in a community. It makes white people, good-intentioned white people who care and want to do the right thing, afraid. And maybe that's the intent of stuff like this. So yeah. Anyway, all right, closing up here a little bit. I was going to talk a little bit about the Blockbuster movie situation, but I think I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk just a little bit about TikTok. So evidently, there was a big Twitter storm, or not Twitter storm, but sort of a situation with the lawmakers on Capitol Hill last week with regard to TikTok. So the TikTok CEO, Xiao Zhichu, I hope I said that right, emerged sort of as a hero of the people. He tangled last week with infuriated lawmakers on Capitol Hill. And on Wall Street, the verdict was rather grim. They said that they called the hearings a disaster for TikTok and said that it's only going to accelerate a ban in the United States or a forced sale of the Chinese parent company, which is called ByteDance. But as is wont in our culture, TikTok users that were watching the hearings took away completely something different. They saw a bunch of this CEO, and almost immediately after the hearing was over, the TikTok community started making all these videos, making fun of these lawmakers, and people kind of siding with this CEO. And most of the tributes have been thirst traps. So, one person says, TikTok zaddy fighting for us. And another person commented, y'all for real simping for the CEO of TikTok. But here's why it matters. The backlash to this treatment of the CEO could make a ban even more politically toxic going forward. There are 150 million American users of TikTok currently, which is equivalent to roughly 45% of the population. And those who do use TikTok are far less likely to support a ban than non-TikTok users. The Washington Post did a survey of people, and 54% of daily TikTok users oppose a ban, while 54% of people that responded who never use TikTok support a ban. So use it, don't want it, or no, use it, I want it, don't use it, I don't want it. I find that am I on TikTok? Or is anybody on TikTok? I'm on TikTok, but I go on TikTok for two reasons, okay? I go on TikTok to learn, and I go on TikTok to laugh. Austin said, I think last week I watched his show, and he said he didn't mind the government banning it for the government users, but not for the American public in general. So I don't know. It's one of those things, you just started, you introduce the sugar to people and they just don't want you to take away their sugar. I mean, that's just how it is. So I just thought that was a really interesting story, and everyone's simping for the CEO of TikTok this past week. All right, finally, wanted to share a couple of closing things, funny, leave you on a light note on a Monday. Last things I want to share with y'all. This I just cracked up. This cracked me up. So here, let me do this. So, all right. So evidently, some illegal migrants. Or migrants, so I don't know, that people get really upset when you say illegal migrants or migrants illegal. They get weird. People, no one is illegal. Okay, reverse. So, migrants illegally came into the United States flying on a hang glider. So, I just feel like at this point, if you are that dedicated to wanting to get into the country, if you are that hardcore, God love you, just here you go. Here, sign on the dotted line. This just cracked me up. I just thought this was so funny. I mean, can you just imagine the scene at the border with someone just like, oh, there's a hang glider coming in. Okay, cool. I thought that was so funny. And then finally, Kansas City. This is a story out of KC, my hometown. Kansas City animal shelter of kitties, and all of the kitties got adopted, or at least except 2. So those kitties must not have been very cute if they didn't get adopted. But I just thought this was the sweetest story, and a really great use of technology to help animals get adopted. I don't have any cats. I know people that do have cats. I have babysitted a cat once. They are very standoffish. So I'm kind of a dog person. I've always been a dog person. We're going to cause some war here. But I've always sort of been more of a dog person than a cat person. Although cats are nice. I do love that cats are low maintenance, though. I do love that I can just like have a kitty over and the cat will just kind of do its own thing and won't get too, they won't need you to walk them. I love that too about cats. Anyway, also too, in closing, one of the things I wanted to share, and please don't hate me if this is really nerdy, but I wanted to share some books that I have been really a fan of. It's part of my deconversion into more liberal mindsets. And one of the books that I've really become a fan of is the book, The True Believer, by Eric Hoffer. This book was written in 1955, I believe, and it talks about this book is so good. I mean, it's almost prescient. How people are really quoting a lot out of it, 1984 and A Brave New World. This book, I read this about a year ago, and it has been one of the most incredible, insightful books into human behavior in groups and how mass movements in societies get started. I literally have highlighted most really harsh truths. So anyway, so that was all of the content I had for y'all today. I am so grateful y'all are here. Elizabeth Press, thank you for coming. Quest Fanning, thank you so much. I've seen Rare Camellia Peterson, yeah. And other people in here today. I think John Rail was in here earlier today. Thank you guys so much for coming today. This was an experience. Yes, and so I will hope to be back. Well, I will be back tomorrow, God willing, and provided that the internet holds out. But this has been a great time for me this morning, and thank you guys so much for coming. I don't really have anything else. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Have a great Monday. Have a great start to your week, and thanks for your patience, and thanks for hanging in there with me while I did all of this wild, wacky stuff this morning. And I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye, y'all. Happy Monday.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level.